There is an inquiry about Canberra firefighters who refused to enter a home to rescue a sick young person for fear of catching COVID. The United Firefighters Union has accused the Canberra Times of beating up this story. Stephen, what's really going on?
Yeah, look, it's difficult to get to the bottom of this. If you read what the Firefighters Union is actually saying, they're saying leave them alone because they can't defend themselves, these particular firefighters. So to get to the bottom of what actually happened is difficult. But I think it points to a broader problem we have here in Canberra, and that is that all of our frontline emergency service workers are under so much pressure that they're failing at every opportunity. I mean, our hospital system is the worst in the country, bar none. Our nurses and midwives got to the point. There was a story I saw last week where one nurse said she's afraid to take a lunch break because if she walks down the hall to the lunchroom, she might have to walk past a dead body that's been left in the hallway. I mean, this is the kind of pressure these people are under. And my understanding is that the firefighters are, when they assist ambulance personnel, they're supposed to wear full protective gear, PPE. Whether or not they actually had access to it would be the question I would ask first, because they're being left deficient in every other aspect. But I think we've got to the point now where, we have the lowest number of police per capita anywhere in the country. Our firefighters were being sent out to paramedic calls because there wasn't enough paramedic Cenatiempos at one stage. I think they've just got to the point where they've said, we've had enough. And to a point they've given up, which, I guess you would expect people with a vocation in that area to be a little bit better than that. But at the end of the day, they're only human. And this is Sheets Home is another failure of Canberra City Council. Well, you mentioned the council. Who's causing this? What's the cause behind all this pressure? Just bad management, really bad management from the ACT government. They ripped, for the health system's a classic example. They ripped about $2 billion out of it to build a tram that goes nowhere. And now they're going to build a second stage of the tram. This government has just been mismanaging the finances and would rather invest in things like making making petrol cars illegal and making sure that we've got a rainbow roundabout in Braddon, rather than actually investing in the things that Canberrans need. I mean, we had a story here where there's something like 70 schools in Canberra that have asbestos and lead paint in them. There was one school where the kids couldn't go to the bathroom because the taps were rusted shut and they couldn't wash their hands afterwards. I mean, this is the kind of mismanagement that goes on here. So it's simply, when it comes to firefighters, there's just not enough of them because this government doesn't have the money to invest in them. Well, let's talk about another council elsewhere in the country, down in Tasmania. The Hobart City Council has voted 7-4 to remove a statue of former Premier William Crowther from the city's Franklin Square. Lord Mayor Anna Reynolds said Australians, quote, want to have a much more honest and brave conversation about our colonial history, unquote. Stephen, what's the relationship between removing a statue and a so-called brave conversation about our past? Well, how do you have a brave conversation if you remove part of the conversation, which is effectively what they're doing? But aren't they just moving it somewhere else? So are they going to, upset another group of people with this statue that apparently they find offensive? And my understanding is that Crowther was a bit of a nothing anyway. It didn't really do much. So I don't know who's particularly offended by it.